Now, the oldest development financial institution in Africa and France's Development Bank are partnering to contribute towards the development and growth of entrepreneurship among South African women and renewable energies. Geoffrey Qhena, CEO of the IDC and AFD Bank's South African Regional Director, Stein Sochas, join me in the studio to discuss. Jeff, good to see you back in the studio.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Have you been seeing this series where they are putting politicians to anchor shows and stuff like that? I think what we can do is a role reversal. I throw it to you, you anchor the show, and you ask me questions. It might work.
Geoffrey, I'm worried you might lose viewership.
In which case, let's leave it there. Yes. Let's start. Welcome, Maria. Jeff, let's start with you. Let's begin on the renewables front. What is the IDC trying to do? Unfortunately, the conversation in South Africa, and when you talk about renewables, has been poisoned by this whole nuclear thing. Let's talk about what you're doing. I won't touch nuclear until I have to.
Thank you for not touching it. So, Godfrey, the renewables for us is, we started on round 1, so round 2 and 3. So now that there's been certainty on this latest round, it's an area which we want to continue to participate. At the back of that, also looking at ensuring that there's localization, because when we look at the first 3 rounds, we did some localization, not to the same extent, so that gives us an opportunity where some of those inputs are here. But also, when you're into renewables, you need long-term financing.
Right.
So, which is where entities like AFD come into the picture, because these are long-term projects by their nature, and we know the benefits in the climate that they would bring. So you provide energy, at the same time you're making sure that you address the issues of the climate change. Yeah,
and of course the government is looking very much to you to try to make sure that you are able to attract that money. The value proposition for someone looking to commit their long-term funds to South Africa, what are they?
Well, the value proposition is that you are getting into, if you look on a risk rating, it's relatively safer because you've got that offtake. You know that you will get that offtake. I think that's for me, that's one part. The other part is that you'll be partnering with other like-minded investors who are long-term in their nature, who will also see the change that is visible. If you look at where some of those are, in fact, because some of them were in rural areas where there's been very little activity. And as a result of these, you're actually starting to see the lives of people change. And I think that's what one should be comfortable with. You know, when I go to Europe and I see all of these windmills and I'm thinking, I think we've got better wind, we've got better sun. Surely we can do it better.
Absolutely. I think that's why Maria is here. Maria, thank you for coming through. Martha, is it? Sorry, apologies.
That's all right.
Martha, no, welcome. So from your perspective, what makes the South African renewable space attractive?
Well, precisely because we can partner with banks like IDC. So AFD is now on its second loan for renewable energy to IDC. We made a first one 2 or 3 years ago for 55 million euro, and now we're on our second one of 60 million euro. And thanks to this loan and the technical assistance that accompanied the loan to help the project holders develop projects that were bankable, IDC financed some projects that simply would have not been financed had they not been there, particularly using different types of technology. I'm thinking biomass and things like that.
Yeah. Now, I see you you have more than doubled the assistance that you're given, right?
Yes.
So clearly you were happy with what happened in the first round and the second round. So what are you doing in the second round? Yeah.
The second round, so we are continuing, I think, to explore the renewable space. I think we're encouraging IDC to continue down this path of using different technologies. Solar is something that's becoming pretty well known in South Africa, but biomass, small hydro, other forms also of energy efficiency are things that we are exploring with IDC.
Right. Now, there's another component here, the focus on women. Do they come into this conversation around the renewables?
Not for the moment. In fact, these 2 days, IDC and AFD have decided to sit down together with our teams, and they're working as we're here with you, to explore new avenues for our cooperation. And women's empowerment, so women entrepreneurs, is going to be a big part of that conversation.
Yeah. What do you want to see happen on that front? Because we know, as in many other parts of the world, women are in the main excluded from mainstream economics. And part of the reason for that, here in Southern Africa, we know it's patriarchy and many other things. But what do you want to see happen from an IDC perspective in terms of bringing in more women and helping them to become owners of businesses rather than just coming in as employees.
Yes, and South Africa has a ways to go because only 6% of women are women entrepreneurs.
Sure.
Adult age women are women entrepreneurs for having small companies.
Without knowing the other figures from other parts of the world, that sounds
I'm not
shocking.
going to compare you to Senegal. Senegal is something like 36%.
Wow.
So we have a ways to go, but that's fine. But we think IDC is well placed. They have the know-how because through IDC has the capacity to reach out to smaller SMEs, which we cannot do directly. We're too big. We're foreign, and IDC is in its market. It knows these women entrepreneurs. It can mentor them, and so it's a perfect partner for us.
Absolutely. So Geoffrey, Jeff, you coming in now, and obviously there is pressure on you to do something about something that we know absolutely is untenable. What are you adding to what she needs to see that?
Well, let me start with women. The financial year that has ended will approve about 16 billion in total. Of about 2.2 to 2.5 billion will be to women. In fact, in our KPIs, we've actually identified women and women entrepreneurs as one such area. So, as Martha says, we've got the know-how here in not only in South Africa, but in SADC as well. So that's one area which we want to ensure that we continue to we cannot have a situation where we have the people who are in the majority numbers not participating to that extent. And I mean, there are women entrepreneurs. We just have to partner with them, make sure that we give them that assistance.
What will that entail? Is it a question of throwing money at the problem? Because we know sometimes it's not just about money. It's about skills. It's about supporting people when they get into business. It's about creating the environment for them to be able to start working.
Well, Geoffrey, you've got different types. I mean, there are those who are established. They want to expand.
Yes.
And I think those, we should just support them in terms of the expansion. Naturally, we need to satisfy ourselves that the business would work. I mean, that cuts across. It doesn't matter whether you're a woman or youth or whatever.
Sure.
So that's that part. But also for those ones, the ones that are starting are coming in. So it's for us, we have what we call business support. So where we access money from AFD, in that instance, the technical support would assist us, but also from us in other sectors. We do provide financial, technical support. So we'll say, what is it that is needed? We'll have to assess each case. Sometimes the financial skill is great, but maybe the marketing side needs to happen. So we'll look at, try and solve the problem. Because you're right, you don't just throw the money and hope the problem goes away.
But the money is important.
It's very important.
How much is available?
In fact, as I said, we've got in our targets. I mean, presently now, and as I said, I mean, the number is 2.6. I mean, we have a very demanding and rightfully so board that wants to see those numbers increase. So if we can increase more, that's even much better.
Right. This is in the coming financial year?
Yes, this is in the coming financial year.
Okay.
Yes.
And from an FD perspective, what kind of support can you provide?
So we can provide long-term, so when I mean long-term, up to 20 years.
Okay.
So I would say it's patient, it's a loan, but it's a very patient loan.
Right.
Because it will be repaid over the 20-year period.
Yeah.
The loan would probably be a concessional loan, so below market rates.
Okay.
This loan can be provided in...
Are these local markets or these are European markets?
So I was just going to...
Sorry.
That's fine.
Go for it.
It can either be in euros, but I think in the instance of women entrepreneurs, they're not going to, IDC will not receive cash flows in euros, so we would swap it into rand.
Right.
So it would be a rand-denominated loan, but very long-term, probably longer than IDC could find here in the South African market.
Yeah.
And in addition to the financing, there would be the technical assistance to help IDC go further and farther in mentoring of women, capacity building.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of things that need to be done so that women's projects become bankable, not just for today, but for the long term.
Yeah, I raised the cost issue because you know in Europe you guys getting money for free. I mean, this is what we do here.
I wish.
When it comes here though, the interest rates just do add up a little bit. So I wanted to know, Jeff, from your perspective, how you are working to ensure that the funds, when you do extend them to the people that do need them, are not going to make it even more difficult for them to start running again.
Well, as Godfrey Martha says, it's important that the source is competitive. It's very important.
Of course.
So because IDC does not take deposits, so we don't have that advantage. So I mean, the team that is focused on funding is under tremendous pressure to always find us long-term money at very competitive rates. So as Martha said, I mean, from the relationship which we've had, which is about 21 years relationship, by the way, with AFD, I can say that we've been getting it at very favorable rates so that we can be able to pass it through. Particularly for startups, I mean, they don't have that cushion to can absorb something that's more expensive. So it's important that the source is right. Then we can pass it.
Yeah. Martha, I would imagine you are excited by some of the changes that we see on the political front here. Does that make it easier for you to go to your principals and say to them, look at South Africa, this is a place where you want to be? Because now you're seeing a renewed focus on trying, number one, to sort out the economy, and also, secondly, to really try and make a meaningful difference to people on the ground.
Exactly. First of all, I should say that AFD has been here since July 1994.
Okay.
So we've been through some good
Since
times,
democracy.
Some good times and some bad times.
I won't ask you which ones were bad.
Well, 2008 and 2009, which is when the financial markets fell apart, AFD had its biggest years. So we are here for a countercyclical role, which means when people pull out, we are there. We hang in there. So getting back to your question, I think South Africa today is, you can feel the excitement. I've been here 4 years. Last year was a tough year. It was a year sort of waiting. And now we can see that South Africans are getting back to business. The state is starting to address some of the issues and roadblocks that will help this economy to grow, will help it to create jobs and make a better South Africa for the larger number. And we're in there. Absolutely. I'm sure you've heard of the saying that, you know, when times are tough, friends are few. You sound like one of those few friends. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for coming through and talking to us. That's Martha Stein Sochas, Regional Director for Southern Africa at AFD. In the studio with me as well today, Geoffrey Qhena, CEO of the IDC.